The Rowdyruff Boys. Honestly, some of the most bafflingly popular villains ever. If you discount the literal one-offs, these boys have the least appearances of every villain on the roster, and yet, the way people talk about them, you think they were main antagonists or something. As contradictory as it sounds, when you really look at them and what they bring to the series, their popularity is not confusing. Actually, the confusing thing winds up being how little the franchise itself used them. I found myself thinking about this when Multiversus announced the Powerpuff Girls being added to the roster. Yeah, you can just feel how timely I am with this video. It was met with a lot of praise, a notable portion of which was given to the Rowdyruff Boy skin, which, I will admit, was pretty clever. And it made me think, why are these guys so popular? I mean, I know I like them, but why? And so I'm bringing back my Why Do We Love series to ask, why do we love the Rowdyruff Boys? And this is quite timely because ever since I moved my anime content to its own channel, that playlist was cut clean in half. So, let's start at the beginning. The Rowdyruff Boys were introduced in Season 1 of Episode 23, and honestly, going purely off context clues, it's easy to see why they exist. Sugar, spice, and everything nice actually comes from the second stanza of a poem, What Little Boys Are Made Of. So the ingredients used to make the boys and the girls are intrinsically linked by this about 200-year-old rhyme. After becoming frustrated with his constant losses, Mojo begins to seek a way to even the odds. Yeesh, Mojo, the first season isn't even done yet, don't lose your patience now. Have any of you seen the Everybody Wants to Rule the World cover he did? It was really good. You'd think he wouldn't need to call and ask how the girls were created considering he was there, but I suppose he wasn't paying attention. So he gets snips, snails, and puppy dog tails and uses the X potency of a jailhouse toilet to combine them all into the Rowdyruff Boys. The boys were created for the explicit purpose of matching and defeating the girls and are the first opponents to actually nearly kill them. And browsing through the wiki to see the other times, it's quite clear that they can only be defeated via Chemical X, either by opponents with it or having it taken out of them. And you know, going back to watch this episode, the most surprising thing about it was their relationship with Mojo. Sure, they are destructive and itching for a fight, but with him they are shockingly functional. They basically acknowledge him as their father from the get-go and are able to have fun with him. Even when they're being violent, he knows how to manage and control them. It's like the only time they act like normal boys. The episode is largely a fight scene between the characters, and I gotta say, the show is as wonderfully violent as everyone hypes it up to be. It wanted action and it knew how to deliver. There are all sorts of little moments that make you chuckle when you notice them, like this scene of Blossom punching Butch off screen only for the camera to pan around to him strangling Bubbles 2 seconds later. These kids were out for blood. There really isn't much here in the realm of characterization. For the boys, the episode actually does a lot to squeeze in the relationship the girls have with the rest of Townsville, to the point of the citizens being the ones to revive them after they've been beaten. It's kind of touching to see how much they care for each other. The most characterization the boys get is their lack of knowledge due to just being born, as shown by their surprise the Powerpuff Girls didn't start crying when they were hit and the girls asking them, "Are you new?" To which the answer is, extremely. It's funny, they were born with innate knowledge of their own names, the English language, that burritos give you flatulence, and they believe that boys are stronger than girls. Truly, all the important constants of nature. We will actually get back to that later. Really, these three are just the same character in 3 different bodies. If they didn't look like the girls, you would never see them as counterparts. I did not understand what they were talking about when I first watched this episode, though I can vividly recall how the room I watched it in looked all those years ago, and I still don't get it now. How the hell did they get "kiss them and they'll explode" out of Miss Bellum telling them to be nice? I'd have assumed they were telling them to make the boys nervous by being overly friendly, but the way the girls act implies that they knew exactly what would happen. Admittedly, from a moral standpoint, it's probably not great to tell girls to be friendly to guys who beat the shit out of them. Though I guess that's not any worse than telling them that a kiss will make those guys explode. Also, am I crazy, or are her boobs and cleavage drawn with a lot more detail here? I even remember noticing that as a kid and wondering if it was part of a hint. And now that I'm older, I gotta say, maybe. YouTube would look really stupid if they set this video to made for kids. The last thing to note is that the girls, besides Buttercup, like kissing. Also something that we'll come back to when the boys come back. Which takes on to season 5? Yeah, it's no joke when I say that these characters were not used that often. The series creator, Craig McCracken, didn't especially like them because they were basically one-note characters. And watching the episode, you realize that they really only exist to give the girls a real physical challenge. Despite his dislike, their debut is apparently his 3rd favorite episode. It took on to season 5, when he had much less involvement in the show, for them to be brought back. Also, it seems he said that he did not like the ships. How unfortunate for him. And unfortunate for the shippers who are expecting new content in the upcoming revival. He said that he'd add the boys to the show in the best way possible, and all I'm gonna say is, be very afraid. Anyway, let's go all the way to season 5, and oh god, the whole show's different. Like, it looks like an actual city now. Anyway, him is angry about the fact that the girls keep defeating the forces of evil, but then he realizes that they have had opponents that they couldn't defeat, and thus he brings the Rowdyruff Boys back. And they are different. They've gotten more distinct characterization, but they've also gotten, well, I guess dumber is one way to put it. And they're a much less functional unit. Boomer is basically an airhead, Butch is the definition of unevolved, and Brick, okay, his intelligence seems to be about the same, but he's doing a lot of yelling and it's making him look dumber. The boys didn't exactly establish themselves as intellectuals in their first appearance, but here Butch is making actual animal noises.
You girls are gonna eat your words, spit them out, and eat them again.
That doesn't even make sense.
I know you are, but what am I?
And funny enough, when things like Butch's spazzing are lowered in later episodes, he goes back to lacking any character. Also, they got spiky haircuts. The girls laugh, but I like them. I think it honestly suits them. After a short scuffle, the girls resort to kissing them. But instead of making them explode, it makes them bigger and stronger. And boy, do the girls try that over and over again before they realize that it's not working. Turns out, him gave them a vaccination. Now kisses don't disgust them, it makes them bigger and stronger. Okay, that joke I get. The rest of the episode is just painful. With the girls at their mercy, the guys play with them and do all sorts of disgusting things, while using them as props for violent games. But the girls do manage to turn the tide on them when they discover their weaknesses. They shrink when their masculinity is threatened, and so they humiliate them until they shrink down to the size of dolls. These guys' whole existence is just a huge metaphor. Him shows up again to take them away, and probably remove all of that growing and shrinking magic. But now, the boys are back and just out there, existing. We wouldn't have to wait long to see them again. Actually, they show up quite quickly in Boy Toys, where Princess learns that there is a group of superpowered evil toddlers she could join instead of continuing to try to be a Powerpuff Girl. It's adorable how eager she is.
All this time I wanted to be a Powerpuff Girl, but there was one problem. They're good, and I'm evil. Just look at you guys. You're just like them, but evil like me.
I think there's more character in that one line than in 90% of the boys' whole dialogue across the entire show. It's also predictable that it would go poorly for her because while I haven't brought much attention to it, the boys do have a notable bent of sexism to them that makes the idea they'd let a, how did Brick put it? A lame sissy baby girl join them laughable. Princess, though, while hurt by this, sees opportunity, building on the boys' antagonism and making up more insults in order to form camaraderie with the girls and get them to agree to work with her. Here, the Rowdyruff Boys are really just the motivation of this plotline, as Blossom only pretends to let Princess join them so they can use their weapons against the boys. Well, use is a strong word. They basically just show them off until the boys decide to steal them for joyrides and destroy them by shooting each other and collapse in laughter. I'ma be real, this doesn't seem like as much of a victory as the girls act like it is. I mean, they definitely outwitted Princess and got rid of the weapon she was going to use on them, but they basically just gave the boys so much entertainment that they wouldn't bother anyone. Wait, is there a lesson here? Because I would totally be distracted if someone handed me a PS5. Their next appearance is the City of Clipsville, a clip show episode where the joke is that they start showing clips from things we've never seen, including one where the girls sped up time to when they were teenagers and turned into stereotypes. This is how I learned fanfiction.net was created in 1998, and there have been Powerpuff Girls fanfiction on there since 2000, and that the very common idea of writing the Powerpuff Girls in a teen drama is not only the premise of the first fanfic for this show, but is from a fic that is older than I am. And if this section isn't meant to be a parody of that, then that means even the writers of the official show thought of a teen romance plot in regards to just making stuff up about the girls. And of course, with all of that comes boy drama, which they are more involved in than fighting the crime and monsters around them. It's so dumb, and yet really funny. I love the faces Brick and Butch make in reaction to how stupid Blossom and Buttercup act. I guess the shoe's on the other foot now. Of course, this didn't actually stop the fans. The best you can hope for is that it would make them put more effort into writing their fanfictions. If anything, it's just canon confirmation that the ships are plausible and the boys can mellow out with age. I say this, fully knowing the whole thing's a joke. I don't know why Steven Universe gets so much credit when this is the actual first gay marriage we see in a cartoon. Next episode is Bubble Boy, where the girls capture Boomer and Bubbles goes undercover as him. It's mostly just her trying to keep up with all the stuff they do for fun, like punching each other in the face. Gotta say, watching all these episodes at once, it's kinda jarring to see Bubbles almost cry from being punched once when the first time they met, they made a point about the girls not crying when they got hit. Do the boys just hit each other harder? Oh, I bet the shippers would love that. The boys are clearly uneducated, seeing as how they can't spell dumb, but they aren't completely stupid because they clearly suspect that Bubbles is pretending to be Boomer.
Come on, Boomer, if that's who you really are.
Honestly, the writing around the end of this episode is kinda messy and rushing to a conclusion as the boys basically walk into a trap and get captured alongside Boomer before Bubbles accidentally frees them. This episode is pretty much the first one giving an effort to writing the boys in a casual setting and as independent villains of an episode. But it only tells us what we already knew. They are violent children. I saw a Reddit post about this and you know what, I kinda agree. The Green Gang does it more interestingly. And that's it for all their season 5 appearances. Wow, the show really blew its load fast there. It cannot possibly be that difficult to write stories around these guys. I think it's just that the writers aren't really interested in writing them as anything other than violent, inciting incidents. Just having them be physical obstacles again like they were in the first episode would become very repetitive. And I think the problem is that they're just so dumb. They have no ambition and no intelligence to have a clever plan. It's just monkey see, monkey do with these guys. Except the monkey in the show is much smarter. And so we come to their final appearance, Custody Battle, where Mojo and him fight over who is the more evil dad. So they again just basically serve as a trigger for other characters to do stuff. It did give us this golden meme though.
That's the evilest thing I can imagine. Oh, all you can do is raise them the best you know how and hope they turn out right. I'm so proud of them.
Alright, I'm gonna say it. The Rowdyruff Boys suck. They are barely characters and are barely involved in anything. They have one joke, being violent idiots, And the concept the writers are clearly most comfortable using them for as physical challenges for the girls would be too repetitive if done over and over again. They have potential, but when you say something has potential, you're also admitting that that potential is entirely unrealized. I often see people say that the Rowdyruff Boys deserve a spin-off, and I have zero proof of this, but I am 100% confident that every single person who says that is thinking of a fanon interpretation of them. The closest the canon Rowdyruff Boys have come to being capable of carrying a TV show on their own are the comics. Yes, I also read every comic with them. They're in a bunch of short comics in the CN Action Pack, of which only one is really interesting, and they show up as a destructive band and temporarily work with the girls and a boy band turned metal Viking warrior to defeat the Boogeyman and his alien invasion in the IDW comic from 2014. No, I did not make any of that up. And you know what? I think I finally figured out why we love these idiots. In RWBY, there is a team of 4 bullies, only one of whom has a character, called Team Cardinal. I once saw someone complaining about there being a lot of fanfiction depicting them as important characters or love interests for the main girls. I don't remember which one it was specifically. I have personally never seen anything like that, but my response as to why it's happening came to me immediately when I saw that. They are canon characters so lacking in characterization you could pretty much use them as OCs. It's not really what they are in the show that people are attracted to. It's what they could be, and what you could put onto them. After all, think about what they are. Male versions of the protagonists. There is so much there if you're willing to go deeper into it than an episodic children's show would. It's not hard to believe that they have as much character as the girls, even if the show barely tries. Since I started writing this and looking into it, I've seen 2 different fanfictions that play with the idea that the girls and guys have unique existences and can thus relate to each other in a way they can't with other humans. As far as the show is concerned, these guys are basically just an evil Power Rangers team. But the gendering of the teams and the fact they were created the exact same way, jail toilets notwithstanding, makes people look for the same amount of nuance they'd give actual boys and girls in the real world. Including the idea of them growing up. Honestly, if they didn't exist, the fandom would probably have created them as soon as they realized what the poem was saying. Don't get me wrong, if you want to see them as counterparts, there is something there. Where Blossom is the leader, Brick is controlling. Where Buttercup is violent, Butch was notably wild for like an episode. Where Bubbles is kind, Boomer is an idiot. Okay, the strongest connection these two really have is that Bubbles thinks he's cute and they both like insects. It's extremely surface level, and there are like 0 interactions between the boys and girls where it's really relevant because all they do is fight on sight. And consider this, the girls have never beaten the guys in a straight up physical fight. They lost in the first episode and resorted to kissing. They resorted to kissing again when the boys came back, which is no light thing because Buttercup canonically hates kissing Butch. When Princess interrupts their fight, they say it might have been their one chance to beat the boys. They jump Boomer and are still worried about going 3v2 against his brothers and are extremely worried about not having a way to capture them. These are the only opponents in the whole show the Powerpuff Girls only beat by outsmarting. Even him has been beaten up. A bit odd considering they are at the prime age where there are minimum physical differences between boys and girls. Basically, at worst, the Rowdyruff Boys are the girls' only equals. And you could do so much with that. I mean, I still remember reading a story where they basically fought to the death years ago and it stuck to me over a decade later. This isn't just a shipping thing. There are dark directions to take this concept if you really want to. There is so much you could potentially do with these characters as they age up, and that's what like 95% of the fanworks involving them has them do. Hell, even that shitty live action show evidently was gonna do that with Butch. I think. I've mostly banished that from my memory. The Rowdyruff Boys aren't loved for what they are because what they are is one-note villains whose only unique selling point is being stronger yet dumber than the girls, and looking like them. They're loved for what they could be. And considering how much character they don't really have, and the fact they're children that are capable of a lot of growth, that can be anything from really threatening villains to genuine love interests. And as for the love interest thing, well, you didn't really give your growing fanbase many options, Craig. I mean, who else is there? Harry Pitts? Mitch Mitchelson? Robin? Blossom's most popular ship outside of Brick is Dexter from Dexter's Lab, and Buttercup's is fucking Ace. Fandoms tend to latch onto what you give them, even if they have to make shit up to make it work. And they kissed them, and Bubbles and Blossom even said they liked it, and Bubbles later said that she thinks Boomer is cute. The murder by explosion is nothing next to that. I have seen people do more with less. Don't take this as a condemnation of all the fan works, by the way. Like I said, I also like the boys. But now I guess I recognize that I don't really like them for what they are, outside the context of watching entertaining cartoons of children fighting.
Whoa, children fighting! I can sell this!
Shout out to my channel members and patrons, Abe, Skyman, Technopark, and Jarg Evolved. What are your thoughts on the boys? Was I too harsh? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're at it, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. Thank you, and good day.